Over the years, many mysterious creatures have been found. So in this video, we count down 5 mysterious creatures encountered from around the world. Spring Hill Jack is a cryptid that was sighted in England. The first accounts of Spring Hill Jack were made in London in 1837, and the last reported sighting is said to have been made in Liverpool in 1904. The first report of Jack was from a businessman returning home late one night from work, who told of being suddenly shocked as a mysterious figure jumped with ease over the high railings of a cemetery, landing right in his path. No attack was reported, but the submitted description was disturbing. A muscular man with devilish features including large and pointed ears and nose, and protruding glowing eyes. Perhaps the best known of the alleged incidents involving Spring Hill Jacks were the attacks of 2 teenage girls, Lucy Scales and Jane Alsop. The Alsop report was widely covered in the newspapers. Jane Alsop reported that on the night of February the 19th, 1838, she answered the door to her father's house to a man claiming to be a police officer, who told her to bring a light claiming "We've caught Spring Hill Jack here in the lane." She brought the person a candle and noticed he wore a large cloak. The moment she handed him a candle, however, he threw the cloak off, and presented a most hideous and frightful appearance, vomiting blue and white flames from his mouth while his eyes resembled red balls of fire. Miss Alsop reported that he wore a large helmet, and that his clothing resembled white oil skin. Again on the 28th of February, 18-year-old Lucy Scales was returning with her sister from her brother's house in Limehouse. As they were passing the Green Dragon Alley, Lucy came across a man in a large cloak, who suddenly spurted out some blue flames onto her face, disabling her sight and triggering violent fits which continued for hours. In West Surrey, many school-going children reported seeing a man who was all black with red eyes, who could run as fast as a car. In February 2012, Scott Martin and his family were travelling in a taxi when they saw a dark figure run across the street and climb a roadside bank in seconds. This was near Nescott College in LY Bypass. To this day, it's unknown who or what was responsible for the attacks. But what do you think Spring Hill Jack was? Let me know in the comments. The Children of Woolpit is an ancient account dating back to the 12th century, which tells of 2 children that appeared on the edge of a field in the village of Woolpit in England. The young girl and boy had green-hued skin and spoke an unknown language. The children became sick and the boy died, but the girl recovered and over the years came to learn English. She later relayed the story of their origins, saying they came from a place called St. Martin's Land, which existed in an atmosphere of permanent twilight, and where the people lived underground. While some view the story as a folktale that describes an imaginary encounter with inhabitants of another world beneath our feet or even extraterrestrial, others accept it as real. According to the account of the Green Children, a boy and his sister were found by reapers working their fields at harvest time, near some ditches that had been excavated to trap wolves at St. Mary's of the Wolf Pits. Their skin was tinged with a green hue, their clothes were made from unfamiliar materials, and their speech was unintelligible to the reapers. They were taken to the village where they were eventually accepted into the home of local landowner Sir Richard Decane at Wilkes. The children would not eat any food presented to them but appeared to be starving. Eventually the villagers brought round some recently harvested beans, which the children devoured. They survived only on beans for several months until they acquired a taste for bread. The boy became sick and soon succumbed to illness and died, while the girl remained in good health and eventually lost her green-tinted skin. She learned how to speak English and was later married to a man at King's Lynn, in the neighbouring county of Norfolk. According to some accounts, she took the name Agnes Bear, and the man she married was an ambassador of Henry II, although these details have not been verified. After she learned how to speak English, she relayed the story of her origins. It was a region forever cloaked in twilight, and surrounded by a swirling river. Everyone in St. Martin's Land was green. How exactly the siblings arrived on the other side she was unable to explain. The little girl claims they were tending to her father's cattle when they discovered a cave. They entered the narrow opening, crawling deeper into the darkness. Suddenly there was a flood of light. It was then the green children tumbled headfirst into the pit. Over the centuries, many theories have been put forward to explain these strange accounts. Regarding their green colouring, one proposal is that the children were suffering from hypochromic anemia. The condition is caused by a very poor diet that affects the colouring of the red blood cells and results in the noticeably green shade of the skin. In support of this theory is the fact that the girl is described as returning to a normal colour after adopting a healthy diet. The Bandage Man is a cryptid or ghost purported to be seen near Cannon Beach, Oregon. The Bandage Man appears on the short approach road connecting US Highway 101 to Cannon Beach, between the town and where Highway 26 intersects with 101. He is always reported to be covered in bloody bandages, as well as emitting a horrible stench. Occasionally the spirit's limbs appear to jut out at bizarre angles. He is rumoured to be the ghost of a logger who died in a sawmill accident. The Bandage Man appears to haunt one particular stretch of road, attempting to grab and latch onto any stationary or slow-moving vehicles, especially trucks and open-roof cars. The Phantom will often attack the drivers, sometimes breaking glass windows, leaving it broken well after it's disappeared. It will remain on the car, disappearing only right before the car reaches the town of Cannon Beach. The Bandage Man is also said to sometimes attack dogs and cats. That particular road was a popular destination for teenage couples to make out. In 1960, an unnamed couple arrived in the area frequented by the Bandage Man. While they were talking, they noticed the car was rocking back and forth. They looked up and saw what appeared to be a man, completely covered in bloodstained bandages. He was latched onto the back of their truck, staring at them and slamming his fist against the window. Terrified, they drove off with the man still pounding at the back window of the pickup truck. However, when they stopped, he was nowhere to be seen. Since then, people have reported to see the Bandage Man when driving on the decommissioned road. The Grunch Road Monster is an alleged chupacabra sighting in New Orleans. The Grunch is described to be an elaborate cross between the canid and reptilian chupacabras. New Orleans residents have so named the creature the Grunch, but sightings and tales, unlike its cousins, seem to go back further into Louisiana history than any other areas of the world. The Grunch story supposedly goes back to the Crescent City's early roots. New Orleans was founded on August 25, 1718, by the French Mississippi Company. The earliest reports of the creature are said by locals to date to this period. The real Grunch Road was located in a remote part of eastern New Orleans near the community of Little Woods. Most people only ever encountered Grunch Road by accident. A dead end of scant shales and sand, sheltered by overgrown woods and great tall water oaks, it's led into the ferny darkness of the major town highway of Hain Boulevard. From ghastly goat people and several ghosts of who only knows what. Stories of floating lights and strange cries in the night continue to this day. Photos of a creature alleged to be the Grunch have surfaced over recent years, keeping the legend of the Grunch Road alive to this day. In many Native American legends, a Skinwalker is a person with the supernatural ability to turn into any creature he or she desires. It's a common theme found throughout cultures all over the world, and is referred to as shapeshifting. Skinwalkers are usually very hairy in their human form, and often wear animal pelts. Some tribes describe them as the perfect version of the animal in question, which are the only garments worn in the initiation ritual. Since Skinwalkers are shunned and despised, numerous attempts have been made to hunt one. However, they're not usually successful. Some say Skinwalkers have the power to read human thoughts. They also possess the ability to make any human or animal noise, regardless of their current form. A Skinwalker may use the voice of a relative or the cry of an infant to lure victims out of the safety of their homes. This trail cam photo allegedly shows one of these creatures. Again, with these types of photos, not much information has been released. The humanoid in the photo does look strange and out of place. Some who have reviewed the photo say it's just a hiker, while others believe it to be something more sinister. Some have pointed out that everything seems to be in quite good focus, but the humanoid appears distorted, One witness had an encounter and said the following. My grandmother on my mother's side has always been very superstitious. For lack of better words, she's not religious, but she does believe in a lot of paranormal stuff. She's never been anywhere east of Montana and she grew up in Nevada. One year when I was in grade school, we went to visit her and most of the visit was pretty uneventful. Typical boring old people stuff, except she always kept her curtains drawn shut, and would always peek out of the window, and when someone asked what she was doing, she would simply reply, "The Skinwalker is watching me." This went on for nearly the entire visit until a few days before we were due to leave. My grandma and my baby brother were in the front yard that evening, planting flowers, when all of a sudden my grandmother started shouting, "Get away from that creature, it's not safe." Of course, being Nevada, we all assumed that my brother had found a scorpion or a rattlesnake. So we all ran outside to see my grandmother clutching my little brother and shaking in terror against the side of the house. Standing out in the yard was a large black Great Dane-sized dog. It was staring at my grandmother with an intensity I'd never seen before. What looked unnatural was the fact it was standing on its hind legs. It looked at us and gave a huff and bounded off. I don't remember if it moved unusually fast or not, but do remember it had really deep yellow eyes. When my mother asked my grandmother what happened, she kept repeating, "The Skinwalker has found me." She moved a couple of weeks after that. So that was an alleged Skinwalker. But what do you think they are? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.